So while we were in Quito, Jess found me the perfect activity to do, an ice climb up Volcán Cotopaxi, which is one of the 3 tallest active volcanoes in the world. The other 2 are in Chile, Argentina area. It was absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. It's about as high as Kilimanjaro, which I had done a couple of years. It's maybe just a little bit higher than Kilimanjaro. But this has a permanent glacier at the top. And so while it's not technical, you actually have to put the crampons and you use the ice axe. It was a fantastic experience, but absolutely brutal ascent. I mean, you're in Quito at, what, 2,800 meters? And then you go up to 5,800 meters on the climb, but we just did it as like a one day. You drive up to 4,800 meters, and from there you start the hike. Just brutal. And I'm really glad I did it, but not in a hurry to do it again.
So while Greg did his Cotopaxi volcano, I was left in the city alone in Quito. So I decided to take a long walk for about 6 hours, and I walked all the way across the city to the Teleférico. And we've been having really bad experiences with them, but somebody told us it would be a good idea to go and see it. So I decided to take the walk, and yeah, it was nice. It was quite high. It was an extra 1,000 meters, so we were at about 4,000 meters. And the actual cable cars were better than the other ones. There were only 6 people in it, so it was much nicer.
In Quito, we went to Freedom Bike Rentals. They rent motorcycles, they do tours, they give you information about self-guided tours. They had recommended kind of a loop for me to do that starts at La Tacunga, goes to the Laguna de Quilotoa, which is kind of this lake inside of a dormant volcano. Dormant or extinct, I'm not sure. But anyway, goes past there, up to a town called Sigchos, and then from there kind of goes back to the Pan American Highway, and then you come follow the highway back down to La Tacunga where you started. Beautiful twisties, beautiful scenery, and a pretty good stretch of, I don't know, 30 kilometers or so that was really nice off-road that I had just a fantastic time doing.
So after Greg's off-roading section, we rode to Baños, which is supposed to have thermal hot springs from the volcanoes that are nearby. So we took a little dip in one of them. The place had 6 different pools with like varying temperatures. And it was quite nice. The water was full of minerals, so it wasn't like clear water or anything. But it was nice and relaxing.
From Baños, we went south and we basically passed Cuenca, and we headed towards the border. But just past Cuenca, we took this mountain highway that took us back towards the coast. And it took us through some really intense fog. Cold weather, but really, really intense fog.
Yeah, like you couldn't see anything in front of you.
No, and of course the highway is filled with trucks coming both ways. So it's really a bit freaky.
Yeah.
When you can't see anything in front of you or behind you.
Yeah, we had our 4-ways on, and that was it, so that people could see us, but yeah, it wasn't safe.
The Ecuador-Peru border is kind of an interesting one, because there's about 3 or 4 kilometers between the one and the other. The Peruvian side of the border is really easy, because this is the one border that we've come to where they don't require like dozens of photocopies of everything. It still ended up taking a ton of time, and we had to get a SOAT.
Insurance, yeah.
Which, you know, in all of these Andean countries, the seguro obligatorio, you know, it's just
and because we already have insurance and they won't accept it, so we still have to buy the secondary insurance, which is a waste of time.
It was pretty late in the evening after we crossed the border, but we had enough time to make it a little ways down the Pan American along the coast. We made it to a campsite near the town of Zorritos.
On the beach.
There were a lot of swarms. There were swarms of children.
Yes, there definitely were.
There were swarms of turkeys that kind of attacked the bikes and then started to attack
pooped all over the place.
Yeah. And there were swarms of ants, and these were the biting ants, and they really, really made a mess of me.
So we ended up going south on the Pan American, on the one north, and it was just so boring. It was like hot and windy. We were right on the coast, so we got all of this wind, and then there was construction zones that were going on, and
a bit further down the hot, windy Pan American coast of Peru, I went down in a huge sand patch that just clobbered me. And then the problem with that so I collapsed in the sand, and I could just kind of feel in slow motion that my traction was gone, and I just collapsed in the sand. But now I had to ride my bike, which had all this stuff on it, in the sand. And so at first I'm trying it and it's not working, and I'm thinking, okay, I can take the duffel bag off, because that's the biggest trouble in getting the bike up. But then just as I'm about to do that, I'm thinking, how will I ever get the duffel bag back on? Because there's nowhere to put a kickstand down and let the bike. I mean, you can't, not at all. So I just with superhuman strength, and I heave the bike back up, and then I'm like with my my arms just shaking just from the exertion. I realize I can't put it on the kickstand so I can swing my leg over. So I basically have to, against the wind, because the wind is smacking me, because we're still along the Peruvian coast here. And I managed to kind of like keep the bike against the wind, hold it steady, and then fling my leg over it, straddle it, and hop on while it's still in the sand. I'm like huffing and puffing and sweating, but there's no time to rest. I'm still stuck in the sand, in this big sand patch. So I just had to ride it out, knowing that I had to come back through it again. But that's the fun of it, and it was a blast. We decided to leave the coast because we were kind of
over the wind.
We needed a break from that. We took the highway into the mountains to a town or city called Huaraz.
Yeah, and this was already at like 3:30 because it was already becoming late. And I was saying we should wait for the night and go the next morning, but Greg's like, no, we've only done about like 130 miles. We need to keep going. And so I agreed.
Yeah, I got us into trouble because it was well past dark, and we're still in the mountain, in the curves and twisties.
Yeah, and it's very high. It was quite high, the pass.
The pass was well over 3,000 meters.
Yeah, and it was freezing.
So Huaraz is between the Cordillera Negra and Cordillera Blanca, which are two kind of mountain ranges. And so, the key thing here is that you can see beautiful snow-covered peaks and just, kind of a gorgeous transition between the two mountain ranges.
We thought that it was going to be a nice little mountain town, and I'd read some blogs about it, and people said it was like Kathmandu, but in the end it was just
kind of busy and frantic.
Yeah.
And from Huaraz, we continued going south through the mountain range, and eventually made our way back, kind of descending back to the coast. Lima was a good bit away, but we just kind of pushed it. We made it into Lima, deciding to take a day off the following day.
Yeah, because we hadn't taken a day off since Quito.
And the first day off in, days since Quito, I just got brutally sick.